Trauma of any kind has a great effect on our lives, but understanding it through spirituality allows us a new lens in which to view it through. This is difficult for many of us who have trauma to understand, because we often feel we did not bring this on ourselves. It just happened to us. From a spiritual standpoint, trauma happens for us. During a traumatic event, the brain is primed to respond reflexively to ensure survival. But the same line of defense that keeps us safe can also keep us trapped in cycles of traumatic memory. This affects us our whole lives, physically, emotionally, and mentally. Trauma is the catalyst for behaviors that allow us to grow spiritually. It catapults us into cycles of rich, meaningful experiences. Deep trauma is an opportunity to explore ourselves in a unique way. Why is often the question we ask ourselves, and when we understand it from a soul memory, we allow us to fully acknowledge our current situations and take responsibility for our thoughts and feelings. This is a difficult part of the shadow work when coming into an awakening. We just have a hard time allowing ourselves to believe we would choose this for ourselves. Through the process of spirituality, we learn more about our purpose and our soul commitments, and we understand we are responsible for creating our current incarnations. Spiritually, we accept our trauma and learn to adapt and continue our journey, and it's key to understanding why these traumas are our own. Welcome everyone to Andromeda 7, your celestial gateway. Thanks for joining us tonight. As usual, we have an enlightening show for you. Trauma processed through spirituality. And before we get started, please feel free to like, share, and subscribe. YouTube loves the likes and it feeds the algorithms. Helps us to grow the channel. If you're new to the channel or you're returning, welcome back. Thank you very much. We greatly appreciate each and every one of you. Now let's welcome our illustrious panel. Welcome everyone. Okay, Teresa D'Antone is with us tonight. I don't have the overlay for the stuff. I have Sophia with us as well. Let me get to this. Hi, Sophia. Dalibor Suki, good to see you. Grandpa Brian, welcome. And Hannah Ray, good to have you with us tonight. This is great. It's kind of a heavy topic tonight, and I kind of battled with this one with myself and my guides. But they really think this is important to address trauma and how it affects us. And one of the things I wanted to explain and talk about briefly is the 3D, 5D difference and what does that really mean? And when we're living in a 5D, we embrace the soul purpose. This shifts into the fifth dimension. It's a significant vibrational upgrade for humanity and the earth. Whereas the third dimension is characterized by separation, duality, and limitation. The fifth dimension operates at a higher frequency and is based on unity consciousness. Unity 5 brings a greater sense of oneness, connection, and alignment with the higher realms and spiritual truths. Duality gives way to seeing life from a higher perspective, in which, rather than being caught up in the past or future where everything's interconnected, you perceive reality through the lens of love rather than fear. And you live in a state of presence, and your consciousness expanded, and you have a greater intuitive abilities and access to spiritual wisdom. So healing begins with acknowledging your trauma, and we must expose it and open it up and really examine it before we can heal it. And I want to thank everyone who was here and willing to openly participate in this topic. It takes great courage and strength to face your trauma. So I thought it would be a good idea for me to be the first to share my trauma with the group and the world. Without going into too much detail, I can tell it this way. In August of 1972, when I was 8 years old, I experienced a traumatic event that unintentionally harmed someone very close to me and almost took their life. Thankfully, they survived, but their life and the lives of many others were forever changed and deeply affected. I felt deep anger, fear, guilt, and shame, and deep remorse, as well as frustration for my role in the situation. Now, I carried this trauma through my adolescence and on into adulthood. And 6 years ago, I became spiritually enlightened and started to work with an archangel. And I accepted his invitation to be my personal guide through the ascension process. It was through him and the concepts he taught me that led me to a much richer and more fulfilled understanding of my trauma and why it happened and how I was able to make peace with it through my understanding of soul agreements, soul promise, even soul memory. And I began to understand that I was not my trauma and that it happened for me and not to me for the greater expansion of my soul's growth and development. So, having said that, I wanted to express my own trauma in a way that can allow others the opportunity to express themselves and their traumas and expose it and really look at it from a spiritual aspect and not a 3D aspect. Um, so there you have that.
Interesting.
So let's go ahead and welcome everyone in the chat. Let's see, we've got, hi, Richard the Red. Very good to have you with us. Hi, Charles. Good to see you as well. Always a pleasure. Uh, Hi, Ignis Draco. I thought
We're
you
at
guys
a
were at a movie.
we're at a movie party. Yeah.
But I know he's got that phone right there, so it's all good. Hey, Lee. Good to have you. Hi, Truth Seeker. Welcome. It's good to have you with us. Wonderful,
Yep.
wonderful. Hi, Regine Huddleston. Good to see you as well. I know you carry some trauma, don't you, as well, just as many of us do. Loretta Enigma, good to see you as well. And Steve, welcome, welcome.
Yeah.
Well, guys, I'm going to ask who would like to go first tonight. And I'm just going to simply ask the question, do you have trauma you would be willing to share? And is there anyone that would volunteer to go first
Yeah,
or
I'll
second?
go. Yeah,
Great,
I'll go.
Dalibor. Thanks.
Yeah, I mean, I think, from a spiritual perspective, the trauma that I endured was 100% my fault. And it showed me a lot. It also educated me because, I, uh, before, before this happened, I was kind of a trusting person in business.
Mm-hmm.
And what happened was basically I lent some money, to a company that I was in,
Mm-hmm.
which was a limited liability company. And for many years, the company, well, not many years, for about 2 years, the company was just getting by. And finally, one day, we had a big break, got a big contract, and of course, originally there were three of us partners. It was like a partnership agreement, and one of the partners dropped out because he couldn't stand the fact that we weren't profitable. We were just getting by,
Mm-hmm.
and finally, when we were profitable in a big way, my partner decided to get rid of me, and and he did it because he had access to the bank account just as
Mm-hmm.
much as I did. And what he did was he basically withdrew it all in cash
Ooh.
and took over all the finances
Ooh.
himself. And
Uh-oh.
he did so because he lived right next door to the bank. So it was much easier for him to do than for me to do. I could have done it too, but I'm not a
Mm-hmm.
scumbag, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he
You don't
basically,
operate that way.
no, I don't operate that way.
Mm-hmm.
It was basically the contract that really put us over the top. The payments came in three phases. The first phase paid for our materials. Second phase paid for like all the employees and everything, and the operations of the company and everything like that. All the surveys, all the drawings and everything. And then the third one was supposed to be pure profit. and he withdrew it all and then said, I want you out of the company. So basically, he got me out of the company, and I received no compensation for my role in the formation of the company and partially sustaining it for my own cash flow for the 3 or 4 years that it was around. And in effect, he cheated me out of a lot of money. A lot of money. I'm not going to go into exactly how much, but it was substantial. And the old saying, business happens when a man with money meets a man with experience. The man with the experience gets the money, and the man with the money gets the experience. Well, that happened to me.
It's like he
So
wanted you out of the way.
yeah, well, not just wanted me out of the way, but he wanted all the money for himself.
Sure.
And it was that third final payment that was like the pure profit, you know, where he just took the money and ran. And that taught me a valuable lesson. You don't trust anyone with your money. And if I ever do go into a joint venture with somebody, I'll have all the money under my control and nobody else's control. Nobody else is going to have access to the account. Or better yet, don't go into business with anyone at all.
See how that kind of changed the way you look at partnerships and
Yeah.
how you want to deal with other people. Yeah,
hmm hmm
that's and that affects you to this day, right?
Yeah. Well, the immediate effect was the fact that I started drinking a lot more than I had been before that, and that kind of launched me down, a path to perdition, so to speak. I was never the same. It's not that you should be trusting in business. You shouldn't really.
Yeah,
Um,
trust no one.
yeah, trust no one, except that in that situation, it was kind of difficult because I was led by everybody around me to believe that, oh, this guy knows what he's doing. He's a nice guy and everything. Yeah, well, he's a nice guy until he got X amount of dollars in his pocket. That changed him. The money changed him, right?
Sure,
And I
changes
figure
everyone.
on a spiritual level, what is money? Money is nothing but numbers, right? And if there's one thing we're never going to run out of, it's numbers. And
Energy. I think I see it as energy as well, an
it's
exchange of
yeah,
energy. But
yeah,
yes, it is infinite. You're
it's
never going to run
infinite.
out of that. Yep.
No, you're never going to run out of money.
Mm-mm.
So I decided that the best course of action wasn't to forgive him, or so to
Mm.
speak, or
Yeah.
even forget about it or anything like that, but
Mm-hmm.
just to say to myself, okay, I have to write this off. There's no way I'm ever going to get that money back,
Mm-hmm.
uh, because in the interim, he basically squandered all that money, and I should have seen this coming because during the company's doldrum phase, so to speak, he um, he went through two different houses. He had inherited one house and
Mm-hmm.
blew all the money on stupid shit. Bought himself an expensive car, crashed it, didn't have it insured, inherited another house, and squandered that. And since then, since that incident, he's gone bankrupt like so many times. Always somehow got on his feet, but from my latest research, it seems that he got some jail time for that last thing that he was involved in. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, the way I see it is I needed that, I guess. I needed that. In other words, I was counting on easy money because I was counting on just providing the capital. Okay, I'll provide the capital. I don't have to do any real work. You do all the real work, and we'll split the profit. In
Mm-hmm.
other words,
Well,
I was exploited because I was trying to exploit him in a sense,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And that was the moral lesson of that. You can't try to exploit somebody without somebody trying to exploit you.
You know, what's interesting to me from a spiritual standpoint is sometimes our greatest foes and villains in our lives are the ones we're the closest to in spirit.
Yeah.
hmm
And
hmm
I
Yeah.
don't know how you feel about that, but that's what I've been told, and that's my understanding. Is the ones that really hurt you the most are the ones you're most trusted, closest friends and connections in spirit. So,
Maybe in spirit, but since that incident, I haven't been
mhm.
in contact with this person at all.
Yeah, but I'm saying if you look at it from a higher level, from a spiritual standpoint,
You
Hmm.
two
that
agreed to
that's
it.
Hmm.
yeah. And Hannah, you get that.
Mhm.
That's interesting, but and I know that for Dalibor, that doesn't negate what happened to him and what's going on and how he felt about it.
Yeah,
You
Right.
know,
because
he
there
felt
was the
betrayed.
Right.
yeah
Didn't
betrayed.
wasn't trusted, wasn't
Hmm.
appreciated, all of that.
Hmm.
Yeah. It's one thing
And
to know the higher perspective, but you have to,
Hmm.
in my personal perspective, feel that earthly feeling,
yeah,
Yes.
you know,
and
Yeah.
feel that
You know,
Because
experience.
that's a catalyst for the change in your life. And
Exactly.
yeah, and
mhm.
to tie in with what you had said before the show, yeah, it did have an autonomous nervous system response, autonomic response, because I um, I slept. I had trouble sleeping. Um, I increased my intake of alcohol,
Mhm.
and that, of course, had a direct effect on my health and my future chances of success. Because if there's one thing that alcohol does, the dominant thing is it makes you a loser.
Mhm.
that's
Yeah.
that's the one thing all of these intoxicants do.
Yeah. So Grumpy Stacks made a comment here. He says, I need to talk to someone about this. Last Thursday, someone opened fire on someone walking down the street. The gunshot sounded like they were shooting inside my shop. Now that is extremely traumatic, and
Wow.
that's a difficult one to deal with because there's a lot
How
of
did it
that
make you
going on.
feel?
Yeah.
you
I would
know,
think you were scared, frightened, worried.
Yeah.
I
Um, Go ahead, Teresa.
Doug, I had something similar happen at Maryland University when I was about 19 or 20. There was a group of us that were really close, and it happened in the quad dormitories. And I was staying over at a friend's dorm room, and it was a group of us. We were very, very close, and we were in the theater together, and had been doing a lot of rehearsals and preparations for the show. And I don't know what prompted him to do it, but he went up into his dorm room. He was on like the seventh or eighth floor in a tower building. And it was about 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and we heard gunshots. And then we saw him out on the ledge of his window. And we're like, "What are you doing, Paul? Why are you on the ledge of the? What are you doing? Get down from there." He had taken some kind of psychotic drug to induce hallucinations. We didn't even know he was into that kind of thing. And he was seeing the Eye of Ra, and he was saying he was being lifted into the clouds, and we're telling him it isn't safe and to get down. And he's saying, "No, no, no, I can walk on the clouds." And with that, he took one step into a straight drop fall, 7 stories high, and
Mm.
cracked his
Mm,
head open on the pavement.
Mm.
mm,
He had gotten a hold of a gun first, and he had shot 3 other students in the dorm, but he just grazed them, thank goodness.
Hmm.
But then we don't know why he had the gun. We don't know why he took the psychotic drugs, and we couldn't save him.
mhm,
So you have this traumatic, an immediate response in that situation is, we can't save him, and we can't stop what's happening. It's going to unravel, and it did, and it left us all devastated for weeks and weeks and weeks. Well, I've noticed that a lot of these traumas like this, whether you're directly or indirectly involved, happen at the least expected moment, and especially younger in life. Most of my traumas were well before I got into my latter years. That's not to say I won't experience them, or people don't experience them when they get older, but when you're not spiritually developed either, when you haven't been doing any kind of practices like we do here,
mhm.
meditation and so forth, you're totally
And working
unprepared.
with guides,
Yeah, you don't have the
higher
guides,
beings.
you don't have the, yeah.
Mhm,
But now for us, a refuge was the local church. And even though we were all from different religions, we got together at one gathering place. And so we tried to approach it from a more spiritual perspective. but dealing with his family and his parents, and it was just a very, very stressful situation. So sometimes now, when you're older, you know how to handle trauma a little bit better. You're more mature.
Mm-hmm.
And now you've got some spiritual connections too. So talking through it like you're doing right now, or talking with others in your spiritual community, is always a good release.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't have that kind of release, so we made our own. We made our own
Yeah.
group.
You
know?
could say,
Jasmine made a comment here, real quick. Question: Are we rationalizing the experience, like using the mind or processing through the body, physically or spiritually? And I knew somebody was going to have that. Go ahead, Hannah.
So the
You
mind
got
kind
this.
of puts that loop in. Like whenever you process something traumatic, the mind wants to ask questions. The mind's looping.
Mm-hmm.
The mind's looping. But whenever we actually go in and feel the process of the trauma, so we carry a lot of trauma in the neck region and in the hips region, especially if you are a woman.
Mm-hmm.
And when you feel it, like the buzzing or like the stuff, and you feel safe, the primary root of it is if you feel safe enough to actually let it out. And it comes in waves. Healing
That's
is
right.
not linear. Like one day you'll be like, wow, this trauma, I'm trauma free, I finally let go of that. And then like you'll be triggered and you'll be like, what happened? It's another
Yeah.
thing.
Mm-hmm.
And but feeling it and letting yourself not think, actually, like letting that bodily process happen there. I mean, and the mind wants to make reasons. The mind wants to be like, well, this is happening because, da 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 da. You can't logically
Yeah.
get yourself
Mm-mm.
out of it.
Mm-mm.
You
Mm-mm.
can't.
Nope.
You can't. And
You
the
can
mind wants
understand
to.
it. You can make
understand
peace
it.
with it. You can make peace with it.
You can
But
make peace
you're
with
always
it.
going to have it until you.
It's the body keeps the score. If you haven't read that book, it's a great book. It's
Yep.
kind of about how emotions are stored in the body and what you can do with
Absolutely.
it
On a
and
cellular level.
yes, the
Mhm.
nucleus remembers that it's
Mhm.
the memory, and the mind again keeps the loop. The body holds it until it's ready to be expressed
Mhm.
out, and this could be through creative pursuits, singing,
That's right.
dancing, doing even sensual things like just being in the body, which is earthly,
Mhm.
and just being true. Like, okay, I feel this here. Da 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 da. What does it make me want to do? And 9 times out of 10, you're gonna cry or shake or
Mhm.
hit like do stuff.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, and it's fun when polar bears go through a traumatic thing. They actually start like they literally like fall down and start convulsing, like
Yeah,
shaking.
shaking. They shake it off.
They
That's where the term
shake
comes
and shake
from.
and shake and shake, and then they get
Mhm.
up like nothing happened. Animals
Yep.
are so in tune with
Rabbits.
it.
Yep. Rabbits do the same thing, huh, Delabor?
mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Fascinating. How about you, Grandpa Brian? Do you have any trauma you would be willing to share with the group?
Sure. The first, I wanted this trauma for 50 years. Finally released it 3 years ago, and it was the trauma of seeing my mom physically abused. I was actually carrying her trauma on me.
Mm.
Uh, 9 years ago, uh, my best friend, we ended a 27-year friendship over a $1 bet at a poker game. But it wasn't
Mm-hmm.
so much that as it was the aftermath that he went and trashed me to even my friends that were really not his friends. He got in contact with them and was just trashing me and trashing me and trashing me.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
it was like, how could you do that to someone that you were brothers with for so long? You spent, I mean, almost 360 days a year we were hanging out with each other. It was almost a nightly ritual thing that we hung out, and
So you felt really betrayed, huh?
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that was very traumatic. Another occasion, I had a cousin that was born 8 days after me,
Mm-hmm.
and we were, I mean, like this, just, I mean, we were inseparable at times when we were younger. I was with a friend of mine down at this lake fishing, and I get a call from my mom. Somebody kicked his door in and shot him 7 times. And that was just, I, I can't explain the feeling that I had. I mean, I was just in utter shock.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was
Very
I,
dramatic.
yeah, it almost brings tears to my eyes now. I mean, 'cause we were that
Mm-hmm.
close,
I
being
understand.
8 days apart and
Mm-hmm.
kind of growing up together and always around each other. And because my aunt babysit us, and then she always took it to my other aunt's house, so we were always around each other. And yeah, that was a real hard one to get over. It took a long, long time for me
Mm-hmm.
to get over that.
Yeah. Yes. No doubt about it. GB, thank you for sharing that. We really appreciate
Yeah.
that. Hannah, how about you? Any trauma
Yeah.
you'd be willing to
Um,
share? I'm curious, and
yeah.
your take on it.
I I've Spirit has been saying that I need to like talk about what I've gone through. I feel like people don't really expect it out of me.
Mm-hmm. I feel you, sister.
So something that I guess was a little bit traumatic for me was not knowing my father and it being lied to in the family. It was like a family secret.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of felt like I had to figure it out and put the puzzle pieces together.
Mm-hmm.
By the age of 9, I tried to kill myself. And I tried about 11 times in this life.
Uh-huh.
I've been taken advantage of by 5 different people. Let's see. Almost everything I've worked out. I became an alcoholic at age 12 due to the thing. I had an opioid addiction. And I've healed like everything, and it feels great. And I think I chose it, everything, because I think Spirit wanted to put me in such a darkness and learn my way out. So I could be, I guess, a light when it comes, like people could tell me anything and I'm like, I will not judge you, because if I'm judging your experience, that would be me judging my
Judging
own.
yourself.
And that is not what heals at all. I think with all the people that have taken advantage of me, I forgave them and I've loved them for who they are. And that is a heck of a path. And it put me in a space where I am able to love anyone. And that can be a bit, I'm learning discernment. Like I love them, but I'm still learning discernment of like who to open up to, who to go to. And I think I'm giving myself, like, I feel like I'm good at it, but I'm minimizing
Yeah.
it a little bit.
Definitely.
I feel I'm in a state where I don't feel like I have trauma. I feel like I have memories where I'm like, ooh, that stings. Okay, what? And it can go really deep, really quick. And but on the on the opposite side of that dual side, it's like, well, you went through this much darkness, you're going to experience this much more light. And it's balancing the two and going about the world is really cool, is awesome. And learning the experience of like whenever I was in meditation and then my guides were like, you chose this, right? I was pissed.
Yes, indeed.
Pissed.
Yes, indeed.
And Yeah, I went through some
It's a
anger
lot
with that.
to wrap your head around from a
Yeah.
spiritual standpoint that you would even have anything to do with any kind of
Yeah.
self-responsibility. And that's the really difficult part of spirituality. That is the shadow work. That's
Yeah.
the getting into your traumas and dramas
Yeah.
and dealing with it and coming to
Yeah.
grips with it. Yeah,
And
you're
I
absolutely right.
truly believe that anybody doing anything, whether you're in a victim mindset, an abuser mindset, any
Mhm.
kind of situation, innocence got you there. It was
Mhm.
only due to my own innocence that attracted these things, and it was only due to their own whatever. I want to
Yeah.
say innocence, but there's something else there that may
Mhm.
be bad coping mechanisms, or even just trying to fill the hole
Mhm.
that they didn't have the tools to do better. If I
Mhm.
mean, whatever it is,
Mhm.
at the end of the day, they wanted to feel loved in the way that they knew how, sadly. And
Yeah.
I wish that we're learning here. This is what I'll say. We're learning as a society, as a whole, tools and mechanisms that actually work.
Mhm.
And yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot. Jasmine had a comment here. Sometimes I'm scared to open these boxes
Yeah.
because there are so many and I don't want to lose my control. What if I don't come back?
Good
You
question.
won't come back though. You'll
Mm-hmm.
become a different person.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you always do.
Yep.
And the things that you're holding on to are parts of you that you'll realize that you're holding on to stuff that doesn't even, you don't even need to hold on to anymore. And the
Mm-hmm.
whole losing control aspect is kind of like a structured system that is made to break, if
Mm-hmm.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
So the ways that I've coped through, say, the opioids and the painkillers and all these things, I did
Mm-hmm.
it because I was trying to run away from what I actually felt.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what if I take what if I take the pills away? What do I have left then? I'll actually face the stuff that I did it in the first place,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
which I needed to break that, tear down the building, build up anew. You'll be a completely different person, and that's the point.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Interesting.
to get into that, I would say that using opioids or using alcohol,
Mm-hmm.
I'd say that on a higher spiritual level, that's an attempt at reframing, because the
Yeah,
famous saying by Einstein, "You can't solve a problem with the same mindset that created it."
yeah,
Well, that's what this is. And if you have some kind of a deep problem, sometimes changing that state of consciousness can actually be therapeutic. So
yeah,
that could just be an attempt at that.
yeah.
Also, when it does come to the soul agreements and promises, a lot of times it may have been something that you put upon someone else in another lifetime. And now it's
Yes,
your turn to accept that role and play it out for them in that way.
Hmm.
to
Um,
learn the morale aspect of it.
exactly. Yes, absolutely. I'm very interested in Sophia's. Hi, Sophia. Welcome. I see you sitting there quietly, taking it all in, taking it
Oh, with
all
grace and ease for my highest and best, that's a lot.
in. Yes.
I would say out of all of the shows that I've participated in the last 2 years, I have pre-partied and meditated about this one the most, because it is
Agreed.
by far the most delicate topic we have ever
Yep,
approached.
I
And there is
know.
no way an hour and a half that 6 people can put in enough information.
I
Mhm.
agree.
I mean, this
We
is a
can just get the
pre-show
ball
thing.
rolling.
I
So,
agree.
okay. So, I got front and back. Yeah.
Nice.
Okay.
Go,
So
girl.
let's do this. Question 1.
Okay.
Do I have a trauma that I'm willing to share? Well, yes and no. And this
Mm-hmm.
is why.
Mm-hmm.
Definition of trauma: a deeply distressing or disturbing experience. That's putting it lightly. And there's 3
Mm-hmm.
types of trauma: acute trauma, chronic trauma, and complex trauma.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Which is why I prefaced my statement with an
You
hour
brought
and a
the
half
notes.
is not enough. Oh, I don't screw around. Okay. I'm
Yeah,
a
I love
survivor.
you.
Right
Okay.
on.
Survivor of not
Mm-hmm.
I
only
agree with
myself, but
yes.
of the fuckery, excuse me, YouTube,
Yes.
that not only was in my soul contract, but because I had a sabotage childhood, let's leave
Yeah.
it there.
Mm-hmm.
This
Yeah.
is why I'm not going to share anything in particular.
Yes.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
I'm part of the reason why I'm so feisty. So now you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel sharing past trauma on a public platform can take more than it gives. It can be very low vibrational. Okay. Because when you're dealing with trauma, you're dealing with anger, negativity, sadness, grief. That's very sticky energy. And I don't miss it. And second of all, I feel it can be fuel to an abuser that may be watching, because some people, narcissists and sociopaths in particular, will
Mm-hmm.
stalk
Eat
you.
that stuff up.
Yes.
We are on a public platform, kids. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And when this show is blessed with the followers that I feel it will get eventually, guess what they're going to do? They're going to rewatch all this. So this can fuel an abuser's unbalanced ego. And I took my power back and
Mm-hmm.
I'm keeping it.
Mm-hmm.
And I call it back
Yep.
constantly
Yes.
on purpose. And I also feel this: if the other parties that were part of trauma,
Mm-hmm.
okay, have evolved and released their unhealthy behavior, who am I to air their laundry?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I feel that I love the person regardless of what happens, because hate is very low vibrational and it will hold you down. I've had enough of that for one lifetime. And no,
Yes,
thank
indeed.
you.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see what else here. Um, let's see. And mentioning it can allow somewhat allow a regression. I've worked very hard for the
Mm-hmm.
ground that I claim and the gratefulness that I hold in my heart.
Mm-hmm.
And any kind of regression is just not acceptable, unacceptable.
Mm-hmm.
I'm who I am because of what I experienced, but I'm
That's right.
also who I am because I did the work. I
That's
put
right.
down the escapism. I put
Mm-hmm.
down the self sabotage. I did the cognitive skills and rewiring that is
Yep.
necessary when you're navigating narcissism and toxic poor downloads and our culture. Come on, kids. They love
Mm-hmm.
dirty laundry, and I'm not going to give it to them. If you
Yeah.
want to know what I've been through, you talk to me when the show's over.
Hmm. Interesting.
And then finally, the past is fixed and it's unchangeable.
Right.
And with that said, my only recourse for what I've learned is to honor myself, honor where I'm at right here, right now, because the breath, the heartbeat is where your power is. It's not in yesterday.
In the
And
now.
I've paid professionals to help me navigate some things, and I'm not too ashamed to say it. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that's part of the problem is people
Yeah.
think, oh, this happened to me. So now
Mm-hmm.
I have to hide it. I have to bury it with
Yeah.
with
Yep.
addiction,
Mm-hmm.
shopping, drugs,
No.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
bull crap. We weren't meant to navigate this by ourselves.
Right.
Mm-mm.
And
No,
our
you're
culture
right.
lies to us and say, just do this. That'll make you feel better.
Or
Why are you
take this.
feeling
Yeah.
bad in the first place? Look at
Mm-hmm.
the skeleton, dig it up, and bury it proper, and quit playing with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but
Playing with it.
I would say that repressing it is also a valid way of dealing with it.
Unhealthy.
No, not necessarily unhealthy. No.
I agree with
How is it
Sophia.
healthy to
I
repress
agree with
trauma?
Sophia.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm interested. How is it
Mm.
healthy to repress trauma?
Yes.
By consciously ignoring it, by consciously putting it into a
No.
metaphorical garbage can.
That sounds
I
toxic
would like
to
to say
me.
that ignoring
Personally.
vibration is even more, it can be more low vibrational than hatred.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed.
And so here's a study. So they had 3 bowls of rice. One was filled with love, the other with hate. I didn't mean to flip you off. The third was ignored.
Uh-huh.
One was loved, was perfect rice, had no mold. The one with hate only had one mold. The one ignored had 5 different types of mold, including black mold. So whenever we ignore a pet, it's not getting attention. It's not getting anything. Whenever we hate the pet, it's still getting attention. It still loves the owner. It still has that relationship. So ignoring a problem, in the cases that I've seen on my table, they have the most bodily things going on that they're like, I don't know why I have sciatica. And I'm like, okay, how's your relationship with finances and your foundation on your home? And it's always jacked. Always jacked. And okay, I don't know why I have this thing on my neck. And I'm like, what are you needing to tell your mother?
Your body will tell on you.
And
Exactly.
your body will always rat you out. and
Sure, yeah, but see, I would point out the obvious, that the four of you that are agreeing, that's the female way of dealing with things, is to open it up, talk about it with other people, whereas the male way of dealing with things is to, throw it in the garbage.
That's
I
very
don't think you're
true.
using
He
the
has
right
a
words,
point,
though.
but
Okay,
he's
then
got
maybe,
a valid point here with
yeah,
that,
he
because
does.
that's how society, that's how it is. That's
Everybody does
exactly
it
what men are.
differently.
Yes, but you have to understand too the time frame that Dalibor is from as well. We were taught, our generation, the baby boomers, were taught that
Stiff upper lip.
men don't cry. You hold it
Yeah.
in. You don't express yourself. I watched
Yep.
my father go through it.
I'm so sorry you had to experience that.
It's
That
true.
sounds
Yeah.
very miserable to me.
It's the way it was in my family too.
No,
Yeah.
thank
But
you.
I think we're going into a timeline where men aren't doing that anymore. It's not necessary.
Good.
I genuinely feel this way. Men in my life are opening up more. They're opening their hearts more. They're actually embracing that feminine aspect of themselves that was meant to be
Well,
from the beginning. And
I'd like to Dalibor. I have been down that path of suppressing it for long periods of time, almost my entire life. And I chose that option. I chose the divine masculine option, as you describe it. As you indicated, and it didn't work for me in the long run. It made me
Yeah.
quite ill in the long run. But let's stop for just a moment, because we're talking about viewing trauma through spiritual eyes. And in this age of awakening, I think most of us who are in the spiritual arena here are aware of what Laurie's video was trying to bring about, and that opening video was very powerful. If you go back and look at it, the trailer video, it really does explain why we created the energy of trauma to experience in our incarnations. And it is the single most powerful energy of emotion, because it runs the full gambit of every single emotion you can possibly experience. You experience when you've had a traumatic experience, depending on the intensity of it. And it is so complex and so dark and so deep that it is a catalyst, just as if you're pulling back on a slingshot. It's a catalyst for transformation if you can respond to it in such a way, through a set of lenses, that you take a more objective perspective on it. And we can't do that when we're young and we haven't been exposed to spiritual practices, or we haven't had an opportunity to be taught by anyone how to process trauma. And that it comes in many flavors and many spectrums and many forms and many layers and many levels. In fact, some traumatic events aren't just a single event. I went through something every day of my life for the first 2 or 3 years of my life.
That's the complex trauma.
Yes.
That's a complex trauma. And there are others who have repetitive traumas where the same thing has happened to them more than once. because they haven't processed it and worked it through. So what you put out there, you attract back.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're in a cycle of repetitive trauma. Like one of my friends from school got raped 4 different times in her life.
Mm-hmm.
Why? She never processed her feelings about the first one. And it got deeper and deeper and deeper. And so why do we create this? Because we know that in this time of change in Earth's evolution, in Earth's history, we know that we're ready for a shift, and we knew we would be here for this time period. That's my understanding. And I believe it now. I totally freaking believe the truth in this, that we chose to come here during this time to help lift in the frequency,
100%.
to help us evolve. So we chose trauma as the single most deepest, darkest energy that we could possibly experience, because
Catalyst
we
is the
are
word.
able to pop out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And Bashar had a video recently. I don't know who, if those of you might watch Bashar. I don't know, but Daryl Anka channels him, and he's so great because he goes, "That's the excitement. That's the excitement because you're watching creation create itself. It's the very raw material of creation for this Earth school." He says, out of all of the planetary bodies and systems and different energy levels of consciousness that there are, we have the deepest one, the most challenging one, and everybody's watching how we do it.
Mm-hmm.
Because we can transform ourselves out of trauma and not have and shift into an Earth energy where we don't have to experience it as much,
Mm-hmm.
or at all if we choose not to.
Yeah.
So we're an example for the rest of the universe. So I don't know about the rest of you, but I find truth in it, because I tell you, I'm a thrill seeker.
Mm-hmm.
I'll go to an amusement park and I look for the fastest roller coaster ride I can possibly find. I've jumped off bungee jumps. I've jumped out of an airplane with a parachute. I mean, I will go find these things because it's exciting. And so when you look at trauma through a set of spiritual lenses, and you start thinking about this a little bit and absorbing this a little bit, maybe the next time when you see a trauma or experience a trauma, you can step back and be a little bit more objective and go, I don't know why, I don't have to be the victim here. I was a victim, but I don't have to live in my victimhood for the rest of my life.
That's
Mm-hmm.
right.
Right on.
I can say, what is it about this trauma? Even though I went through what I went through, I later became a counselor at my church for children who had been through the same thing I had been through. And I did that for 4 or 5 years. I couldn't have done that had I not gone through the trauma and survived it. So
Yeah, I get that. I get that. In other words, you found a coping mechanism that worked for you, and you went with that coping mechanism.
A healthy
That's
one.
great.
Yes, Sophia,
Yeah.
a healthy one. Correct. I
Sure.
A
agree.
lot
Yeah.
of coping skills out there, but not all of them. Most of them are not healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Let's be honest.
Right.
And I like the segue, which leads us to kind of the second question and where Charles was kind of going. And thank you for bringing that up, bud. You know,
Mm-hmm.
okay, so we've dealt with trauma.
Mm-hmm.
Now
Now,
what?
how does your trauma change you?
Let's do it, kids.
Go for it, Sophia. You're on a roll.
All right.
Okay.
3 tables up.
Mhm.
Notes out. Here we
Let's
go.
do it.
So, basically, as far as like the foundational thing, for me, number one, day one, respect is given, trust is earned, and some people have it backwards. And if you have that in the forefront of your playbook, you can keep yourself out of some pretty crappy situations that are going to facilitate the opportunity for trauma to occur in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
That was a glorious day when that went in my playbook correctly. The second one kind of touches on what Hannah Ray said earlier, is that we have to learn to love the person, but to give them the boundary that they deserve to keep the interaction healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. For me, we have unconditional love. That's natural law. Until you can understand, embrace, and operate at unconditional love, you've got weights on your metaphysical abilities and my experience. Someone else may see it otherwise. I would love to add something new to my playbook that will help me moving forward. How did my trauma change me? It opened my eyes. And when I choose to seek and pursue and allow the truth, you can know the truth, but that
Mhm.
doesn't mean you incorporate it into who and what you are and how you interact with this plane of existence. And then going back to the boundary thing, reestablishing my boundaries and interactions. What will I allow? If you ever want to wonder if someone you're dealing with is unhealthy, we'll just stick with unhealthy because I don't like wearing out things. Tell them, I don't allow this. And then watch their face. Because if you tell them you don't allow it and they're like,
They switch.
that means that they have been interacting with people in a very unhealthy, dare say, manipulative fashion. And
Mhm.
that's not okay, ever. I don't care who you are. Manipulation is never okay.
Mhm.
Furthermore, um, where I am actively recovering from some sort of trauma every day. It's like forgiveness. It's a process. And then you
Mhm.
have a situation that triggers, you, may it be the holidays or an anniversary, or a song on the radio, for crying out loud.
Mhm.
Here 30 years later, I hear a song on the radio. I can either relive my trauma or I can remind myself how far I have how come since then. And I start to count my blessings and be grateful. And then I pray for the person that inflicted said trauma, because I
Hallelujah.
guarantee you most of what they're doing in their life now is such a contrast from where I'm at. So I
Mhm.
sort of feel sorry for them, in a weird unconditional love approach to that. And then finally, I'm very mindful of who is in my inner circle, because when life does happen, instead of this being big life altering traumas, we got these
Mhm.
little irritating traumas. You know what I'm saying? Where you have a choice of how you're gonna react to it. I'm not perfect. I'm a work in progress. What was it? Someone told me, progress, not perfection. Love and
Mhm.
bless that person till the end of their days and beyond, because that
Mhm.
was liberating. I don't have to be perfect. I don't have to get to a finish line and be like, oh, I'm healed.
Yeah.
We're, when we do that,
Yes.
we're not learning. We're down
Mhm.
here to learn. We get a body so we can experience things that we can't experience without one. So, and then last but not least, um, let's see. Now I can't. Oh, most of what I share is with my inner circle, which are few,
Mhm.
and most of what I have to say is between me and Source.
Mhm.
Because most people, I love you people to death, but my dirty laundry is not to satisfy anybody's curiosity. Okay, I'm a creature feature show, true and true enough. But if I'm
There.
going to function on a healthy level, I got to start here,
Mhm.
not here. Heart,
Hmm.
not mind. I'm done with that question.
Yeah, yeah. How has it changed me? I would say that coming to realize the source of trauma, and in my case, the source of my trauma, was a failure to adhere to my highest moral values,
Right.
okay, or virtues. What are virtues, right? Is obedience a virtue? No, it's not. Is trust a virtue? No, it's not. Is faith a virtue? Well, the Bible may say it's so, but I'm saying it's not. Um, you know, every single one of my traumas that I've experienced has been my fault because I was counting on getting something for nothing. Okay, like in the instance that I mentioned before, and or trying to get one over on someone. Same thing.
Mhm.
In in other words, I wasn't behaving based on my own set of moral values that I would expect of other people.
Mm-hmm. Hmm. How about you, Grandpa Brian? How does your trauma change you?
It changed me into a better person, uh, especially the one with my friend, because I realized that when I was hanging with them, they were influencing me to where I was acting like them. And once I got away from them, I realized that I was living in a negative energy world. Uh, Also, it helped me when I started to release all these, how it helped me grow from the experience that I had there. And I live by the motto, you love your friends and family, but love your enemies even more because they're the ones that need the love the most. I take it for granted. I love them from far, but
Mm-hmm.
like Sophia says, I still love them because hate is such a powerful word. I
Mm-hmm.
do not use it. I mean, I don't
You
even.
don't hate anyone, right, GB?
Well,
You don't hate
it
anyone?
no, I
Mm-mm.
don't. I
And it
I try
doesn't
to.
serve you to hate anyone, does it?
No, it does not. And that's what, once I started realizing that, that's when I really started growing spiritually because I let go of all that hate that I had when I was younger.
Mm-hmm.
I, it's all about releasing. Past couple of years, I've been going through and with the help of Jim and actually repairing past life trauma.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the trauma that I've had to endure and
Hmm.
some of the trauma that
Yeah, it's
I've
not just
actually
this
inflicted on
lifetime.
other people. Right.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
Right.
and
Mm-hmm.
that's even helped me grow even more in this lifetime because I realized not only did I have trauma in the past life, but I also inflicted trauma on people. So I
Absolutely.
learned how to actually heal myself from both traumas. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm ready to do more of that past life healing work because I think
Yeah, and
that's
that's
important for us to grow
mm-hmm.
because so we don't experience that same trauma maybe come the next lifetime
Yeah.
or
That's the karmic cleanup. Yeah.
correct.
Yeah.
Right
Mm-hmm.
on, GB. Right
Yeah.
on.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you. Teresa, how about you? How does your trauma change you?
Ooh,
Yeah.
I'm
Ooh, yeah.
it's totally
Mm.
see the cocoon and the butterfly. Um,
The
the
moth changing
change.
into the
It's
butterfly. The
it
transformation.
changes. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. We're in trans. We're in transition.
Mm-hmm.
Formation. We form it. Our thoughts form a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Our traumas can either define us as how we view ourselves in the world.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people, depending on the type of trauma, it's different for everyone, but a lot of people define who they are. Their belief systems completely change when they go through some type of trauma, like I'm not worthy, or this happened to me because I deserved it, or this is my punishment for certain things I did in life previous to this, or on and on and on, all of the thoughts of why,
Mm-hmm.
and self blame. And so I was transformed into somebody who sees myself as extremely worthy, extremely valuable. I understand that that was a created situation with soul agreements.
Mm-hmm.
I see it through a spiritual set of lenses. And so I just feel really good about who I am and what I was able to pull through from all of that. And it was a cumulative effect over years.
Mm-hmm.
And then as different levels of different traumas would occur, because I hadn't let it go, so I was still attracting that energy.
Right.
So I was building trauma upon trauma upon trauma.
Yep.
So it's like a damn trauma magnet. So
Mm-hmm.
as soon as
Natural
I
law.
let that go, and I tried counselors, I tried support groups, I had close friends that I confided in who later judged me. I had all kind of family members who were like, "What?" So nothing seemed to work until I met this group. darn near 7 years ago, I met some of you all, and then it accelerated, and I went into different chat rooms and went to different programs and became invested in this community, emotionally, spiritually, consciously invested myself into a program of self-care, which, Charles, I promise we will get to in a minute because Laurie has this third question coming up.
Brian. Luna.
But it's just
Is she on something?
Laurie
I'll
just
touch it
like Luna's on Brian's chair. That's all.
Okay.
So
He's watching it.
it's a what do you call it? A release. Laurie did a regression with me, and I was able to release it. Finally, release it, and it was freedom. And so, letting go, like Sophia's saying, been there, done that. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to relive it. I don't want to keep thinking about it. I don't dream anymore. I don't have bad dreams anymore. I don't have nightmares.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think of judging or hatred or revenge. I don't want the electric chair for somebody. I just don't want to even have those kinds of emotions or feelings anymore because I lived it for so long. And so it's changed me and made me, I have created myself. I've become new. And I said this in our last show. I've recreated myself many times in this life. But this final transformation and recreation is somebody who I really love and care about. And I want to see my success, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to focus on my perceived failures. I don't care who was to blame or who was to, because it was all part of an agreement.
Mm-hmm.
It was an experience. And man, that feeling, you all, of being catapulted and lifted out of the pit, the chains breaking, stepping out of the dark cave and into a waterfall, you know, it's just, it's so transformative and it's so wonderful. And I'm not making this up. It really is. And you start seeing yourself differently when you look at yourself in a mirror.
Because you know who you truly are deep down.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And you know what? All those people that were all part of it, now that I understand, right, they're not.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need to hate them.
Right.
Now, it doesn't mean I want to go hang out with them. And some of them have passed on and moved on anyway, and they're experiencing whatever they're experiencing. They had to carry that karma with them that they created.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't need to see them burned at the stake.
Yeah.
That would just be more trauma.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And I don't need to say, you know, where's the justice in this? They need to be punished. That would just create more.
Mm-hmm.
That energy creates more of that magnet that sucks that back into your heart. And so I'm coming from a heart space, and I really like who I am and what I've become and what I've overcome. And I thank each and every one of you for being part of that spiritual development within me, because you have been reflections back to me of what I was missing, and that's the unconditional love and support.
Mm-hmm.
Got it.
And the non-judgmental.
Absolutely. Yep.
So
Love and
thank you.
support. Love and support. You
you.
got it. We love you,
Yeah.
Teresa. No doubt about it.
Yeah.
And thank you. Yes. Hannah Ray, how about you? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, GB.
Hey, that is one thing I love about all my relations. We have the emotional healing class. So we actually have a place to go to where there's all this love and healing, and you're able to release these traumas and these emotions that you stuck inside of you. And, you know, it's a beautiful thing to be able, like Teresa said, to be able to release that, because it's just, the weight is just lifted off of you. That burden is totally gone, and you no longer have that burden on you.
Right. Oh, and I wish I had a place. Now, I had a local church, and we had a small church group, and the pastor was very friendly, and I got some of that too. But still, there was judgment. So, but with Heather and Jim, there's
no judgment. No, there's no judgment.
I know this. Yeah. So finding the right group to, you know, the
express
right people
yourself.
That you're in your vibe with, express yourself.
We've all
small, keep it small, trusted group. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, Laurie.
We've all earned each other's trust. That's for sure. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's really necessary, because that love and support, trust, understanding, compassion, love, is what really brings you out of it and pulls you to and catapults you into a different understanding of yourself, I think.
Yep. Mm,
Charles
How
has a
about
totally.
question.
how about you, Hannah Ray? How does your trauma change you?
I feel like there's layers to it on a very dense perspective, I guess. At the time of the situations happening, I don't know if it's because of a medium energy or just because of an empathetic sponge.
Mm-hmm.
The things that were told to me through the people who were unhealed, I believed,
Uh-huh.
and I embodied that. And I'm not afraid to kind of admit that I did hurt people on accident.
Mm-hmm.
And in the way that that changed me was I developed a perspective of, oh, I stand I know I know where I am in this warfare, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Like I decided to pick a side, which was okay, we're stopping it, you know. And that feeling, um I how does it change me? It developed me to be grounded in who I am, and just the divine, just unconditional self-love, because if I wanted to get myself out of this stuff,
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I it's me. It's
Yeah.
me.
Ultimately
I
you.
have to get in, and it was the development of self-trust,
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
self-love, self just believing in what I believed and holding on to that will, and getting out. You know, I spent, you know, a long time looking for my parents to be like, hey, help me, I didn't get it. Looking for my friends, they couldn't, they're not eligible, they're people. They're
Mm-hmm.
just regular people doing what their own, having their own things.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the day, you know, I still stand in this. I don't feel like I or anybody can help someone. I can help facilitate a
Right.
environment that is
Yeah.
safe
Yep.
and non-judgmental, so they
Mm-hmm.
can take their
Mm-hmm.
pace. I can't control what they do. I can't control what they choose to do. And
Mm-hmm.
that goes the same
Yep.
for me. Like, I can only control what I can do. I create the safe space. I create this. And how did it change me? It changed me into a better person. On the other perspective, I sometimes have to give myself that grace of, this did happen. You know what side you're on, and you're here to erase it. The types of people or mindsets that are, I don't want to say narcissistic or manipulative, or maybe that's what it is. I
Do
don't
you think
know.
it's more of a choice, Hannah, where you've got this opportunity to make different choices and
What do you
allowing
mean by
yourself
that?
to make your own decision, to choose how you're going to respond to it, how you're going to process it?
Yeah, yeah. I had to, and for sometimes I say I don't have a choice.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's a feeling like I'm like, no, I didn't have a choice, because if I
Mm-hmm.
didn't choose the choice I chose, I
Mm-hmm.
would have died.
Yeah.
and,
Mm-hmm.
and that's it. You know,
Yeah.
furthering with the first question with the opiates thing, that kind of
Mm-hmm.
led me into almost kidney failure. So I have
Mm-hmm.
to have the diet that I have now, and drink
Mm-hmm.
water and no caffeine, and
Yeah.
nobody, not
Yeah.
a lot of people know that, but
Mm-hmm.
it's like, sometimes I feel like this isn't a choice, because I had to do it. I had to be in this energy of non-judgmental
Mm-hmm.
love, safety, and
Mm-hmm.
naturally
Yep.
people are drawn to that
Mm-hmm.
because they're looking for that themselves.
Yeah.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Interesting.
Hey, Hannah,
Um,
let me ask you a question real quick, Hannah.
Yeah.
Laurie, is it? I'm sorry,
Go
Laurie. Is
ahead.
it okay if
Go ahead.
we,
Go ahead.
when it sounds similar to my release? And at what point did you realize, or did you come to a realization that one's belief systems has a lot to play with our ability to do that releasing and that self-care and that self-love, because there are different belief systems out there that we're raised in that have an imprint on us. Did
You're
you find
talking
yourself
about
releasing?
ancestral programming?
That's what I was just about to say. Are you
Well,
talking
that's
about
one
like
thing. That's
Mhm.
one thing. But mine was the Catholic religion.
that's my second question.
Was
Mhm.
children are seen and not heard. Follow
Well,
obey your parents in all things.
I think here's the thing with trauma. We do kind of choose it in a way, no matter if it's a lower perspective or a heightened spiritual perspective. We do kind of sign a contract, right? But here's the
Mhm.
kicker.
Hmm.
We live in such a society. Here's the realism. We have lived in a society that purposely didn't put the tools to teach ourselves how to process it. And that's where some religion comes in, where they
Yeah.
kind of teach you, hey, you only need this and you'll be saved. You need to repent, you need to do this, but they're not actually teaching you how to forgive yourself,
Mhm.
how to forgive others, how to love yourself, and what that really means for each individual. And it's all different.
Mhm.
I think they do it on, I mean, I don't want to get into that, but
Well, and that's what the 5D is all about.
yeah.
It's the shift into
Yeah.
5D from 3D. Yeah.
Mhm.
Charles has this question. I really want to get to this question. And Sophia, I'd like you to answer it if you would. What does the emotional healing class provide to you to help you process and release?
We'll go back to Nick actually answered it.
Mm-hmm.
And the emotional healing class, I've been to it, I think 3 times. But what we do is we use Reiki to find certain disturbances in our energetic body. Like Hannah said, we hold trauma in our body. And then when people bring it up, what they're feeling, and it's a very small class, I think 5. Is that right, GB?
Yep,
Yeah.
There are only
5.
5 in that class. And it's also a safe space. And in my opinion, the shop is sacred ground.
Hmm.
And the shop is also, in my opinion, a ministry. But
Mm-hmm.
basically, what it does is we use our Reiki and in metaphysical clair abilities to see where something is disturbed in the body. And then that gives that person an opportunity to speak to it. And then Jim, being a Reiki master, among many other amiable and wonderful qualities, it is a sacred space to release that, to bring ourselves back into harmony, you know. So I hope I answered that. I'm still
Mm-hmm.
kind of wound up. This is a very near and dear topic to my heart, to see
Yeah.
Yeah.
people heal, allow themselves to heal. Because I don't feel we heal anybody. We
Mm-hmm.
create a sacred space in order for that person to allow healing to occur.
Bingo.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
if someone says,
Bingo.
"Hey, I'll give you this and this will heal you," um, say it to my face, and you'll really see me get wound up. So
Well, I'll go a step further, and just like there's modalities that can help you get past trauma, I contend that there's some systems out there, and I'm a practitioner of such a system that enables you to avoid traumatic situations. Because honestly, I don't want to blow my own horn, but I'm probably one of the luckiest people I know.
Is this your system? Is this what you
Yeah.
are referring to?
Yes.
Pure
Yes.
luck?
Well, the random factors are in
Avoidance.
my
He's
favor.
avoiding putting himself
I,
in
I,
the situations that would
The
bring about
random
trauma.
factors are always in my favor. In a situation where it's a 50-50 chance, pass, fail, succeed, fail, I always win.
he probably cleared a lot of karma in a past life.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
I
That's
mean,
could be very well true.
there's some people who are here and they're like, I didn't experience trauma, da da da
Mm-hmm.
da, da, and they're still having the same soul mission or said earth mission as someone who's experienced a lot of trauma. So it's all the same thing, really. It's just different lives that we've experienced it, and so we chose it to now, and he probably experienced it in another, I mean, just a perspective.
Yeah, so that then Dalibor, that would be the way that you've been able to heal your own trauma
I guess so. Yeah,
in a
I guess
way.
so. Hmm.
Hmm. How
Yeah,
about you?
because like attracts like, right? Like if I
Yes.
were to actually seek redress for all the wrongs against me,
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't be here, right? Because
Yeah.
I don't want to get my hands dirty with the people that did these things to me, because
Mm-hmm.
I don't want any part of them, right?
Yeah.
And when
Mm-hmm.
I look back at every single one of these people became and or was a total loser, right? And why would I want any part of their lives, even if I get a judgment for however many thousands of dollars they owe me? Would it would I be able to collect on it? And in the meantime, I spend like all thousands and thousands of dollars on lawyers and having to go to court and all this stuff, where ultimately it doesn't benefit me. So isn't it better to just like take that whole relationship and throw it in the garbage, forget about it? Isn't the best form
Mm-hmm.
of revenge being more successful than your enemies or the people that hate you?
Success, in my opinion, is the best revenge.
Yeah,
And
and not
vengeance isn't
Yep.
ours to duel out anyway,
yes,
because those that are there to duel out said whatever are going to get people much more than we can. And if we do, then we're just pulling
sure,
more karma on ourselves and inviting chaos into our lives, which flies in the face of natural law. Love it, Delabore. Rinse, repeat.
yeah,
I like what
exactly.
Charles,
Charles is saying
Charles has
there.
just made a comment. Thank you,
Yeah.
Teresa. It sounds like Dalibor isn't ignoring or avoiding his trauma. It seems like he's just really good at letting it go relatively
I
quickly.
was said
Yeah,
I had that thought about a
Hmm.
Yep.
few minutes ago. I kind of cut
hmm,
myself off, but
Sounds like a superpower.
yeah.
yeah,
And you
Yep.
know
yeah,
what? For those of us who have been through this successfully, that's exactly what's happening to me now. Is I'm able to get through things much more quickly.
Hmm.
I don't hold on to them. I don't
Oh
let
yes.
them become full blown traumas.
Hmm.
I'm like, ooh, this is a bad situation. This could be a potential trauma. I'm not going there.
Hmm.
So you
Yeah.
shift that vibration immediately.
Yep.
You
You don't,
switch it.
Hmm.
if you don't step in it, you don't have to scrape it.
yeah. Like
Yeah.
when 9/11 happened, I'm like the only person here that actually
Size.
saw that shit with my own eyes, right?
Hmm.
And I was literally like in stunned numbness for about a week before I actually experienced any kind of sadness about the situation.
Yeah.
It
That's
was
how
quite
shocked.
unbelievable to witness
Yeah,
because
and
we all
Yeah.
watched it on TV, so it
yeah,
was an
everybody watched it on
incredible.
TV, but I saw it in with my own eyes, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
So
Yeah. Grandpa Brian, how about you? Have how have you been able to heal your own trauma?
Uh, through all my relations, through past life regressions, and that's basically it. I'm like Delabar now and Teresa. I really
Hmm.
don't let things bother me. I let it go. I don't like dealing with trauma. I don't like dealing with you know a-
Hmm.
anything that has to do with trauma
mhm.
or any of it. I
Hmm.
really learned how to just absorb it, think about it, release it,
So more of
and
the
that's
observer. You're more observing it than you are playing in it. You're not allowing yourself to get caught up in it. You're seeing it for what it is, and you're deciding that I don't need to go there, and I'm going to move along.
correct.
Have you ever
Because
thought? Have you ever thought
I
about the fact that you might be alchemizing it? I'm sorry.
what was
I have a
that?
delay. What? You go ahead. I have a delay. I didn't
What
know you
did
were
you say?
talking. Go ahead. I'm
Please
saying,
repeat
have
what
you
you
ever?
said.
Uh, yeah. Please repeat what you said, Teresa.
Hmm.
Okay. Have you ever considered that you may have picked up the craft of alchemizing the trauma before it becomes fully blown? There's ways you can
Uh,
alchemize trauma. It's
yeah.
you can consciously manipulate certain events so that it doesn't become a trauma.
You mean
For
by
I
not
don't
example,
getting
try.
caught up into it?
Well, part
Not
is
allowing
not being
yourself
caught
to
up
be
into.
caught in that
You've
web of
seen me
it.
do that. Yeah,
Hmm.
you've seen me do that, but also flipping a script on somebody, like a kid who showed up at the front door with a pistol,
Mm.
and he just really was like going after all of the moms in this row. He felt victimized by the mothers in this row because they got him in trouble with the police. So he shows up with a pistol. And it could have been a very highly traumatic experience for everybody in this row if we had have allowed that to continue. But instead of yelling or screaming or calling the cops or jumping on him or attacking him or getting verbal with him, we were able to say what has upset you, and we just started slowly alchemizing the situation until we gave him a soda, we set him down, we gave him a snack, we eventually talked the gun out of him. We took all these material things and bits and pieces of conversations and just flipped it all. We turned that whole situation around so it was no longer traumatic. He could have shot every one of them. So there's things that you can do when you're shifting your vibration and energy to shift everybody else's around you, and you're really alchemizing
Yeah.
because you're using your energy.
Yeah, I really don't alchemize. Like Lori said, one of my spirit animals is a fox, which is the observer. I
Hmm.
I observe quite a bit. There's times I can go 5 groups and not say a word, or group meetings,
Hmm.
because I am observing on. I've always been like that. That's what makes me such a great poker player, because I sit and observe, and I can sit and watch. Okay, I can tell when people have hands and when they don't have hands, because always constantly I can have a conversation with someone at a poker table and still know what's going on. And at the end of the night, I can damn near tell you what every hand was that won that night, because I observed.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Interesting.
Doesn't that work on a past trauma where you've already been through the trauma? You have a dream about it years later, and you see yourself as the observer, observing what was happening
Hmm.
from a more objective perspective. And then that's a form of releasing too, is it not? Even after all those years.
Mm.
Yes, it's important to go back and heal past life stuff. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
because that past life stuff also affects us in this lifetime too. So
Hmm.
going back and healing that actually helps you heal in this lifetime.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's just
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
thought.
Hmm. Sophia, how about you? Are you?
Yes, it's my turn.
It's your turn.
Yes. All right, kids.
Uh
Here we
oh.
go.
We're in
Damn
trouble
right.
now.
All right. So, in what way have I been able to heal my own trauma? Well, first of all, a connection with nature, because
Mm.
we were not meant to be in a cubicle,
Yeah.
and we were not
Hmm.
meant to live in a concrete jungle.
Hmm.
If it's green, that means go. That means connect. That the trees, the plants, just go outside, for crying out loud.
See
Put
the
down your
sun.
phone.
Hmm.
Okay, so that's first of all. And then art, wherever you find beauty, wherever you find inspiration, and express it. You don't have to be good at it to
Hmm.
express it. I mean, I can hold my own with a couple songs, but I'm no Beyonce, as some people have told me in the past. But that does not stop me from singing. That does not stop me from self edifying, because no one else
Expression.
is going to do it for me. That's my
Hmm.
job. All
Yes.
right,
Yep.
we ready for
And you
this?
take it seriously.
You're like
I
Tom
have,
Cruise, where you slide across the floor in your underwear and socks and get it on with your broom.
and I moonwalk. Well, I don't get it on. Well, we'll leave that right there. That's after the show. After the show.
Mhm.
Gee, my Christmas, that was close. All right, refocusing, focused. Okay, so
Oh gosh.
meditation. Okay, somebody in chat was talking about meditation. Bless your heart and all your parts. Nailed it. But
Hmm.
meditation, and I learned this at Camp Chesterfield. I picked up so much information from Camp Chesterfield. What a wealth of knowledge that lays there for those that pursue it. I
Mm-hmm.
love it.
Yeah.
But there are actually 6 steps to meditation. I know, 6. What the
Really?
foul ball? 6? All right. So, number 1 is alignment. Okay. Before you do this or drum or whatever, there's a pre-party. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
alignment of the mind, the emotions, and the physical body. That's step 1. Okay. Stay with me. Step 2, concentration. Okay. The act of concentrating the mind and learning to focus.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And it just baby step it, man. Don't overthink it. All right. Step 3 is the actual act of meditation. Love it. Okay. Yeah. Pre-party. You like that? It's kind of like
Mm-hmm.
tailgating. You drink Gatorade first.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
Prime that pump.
Yeah, baby. No one likes that hangover.
Mhm.
If that's what you're into. Everybody
Yes.
is into it, and that's okay. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So, step 4 after the meditation. All right. So, alignment, concentration, meditation. Here's the one that I do the backstroke. Oh, contemplation. What did you get? What you gonna do with it? And it just absorb it. And then the 5th one, okay, after you contemplate, illumination. And that's the process of transmutation, transformation, and transfiguration. What
Mm-hmm.
I look like and what I act like now is not what I looked like and act like 5 years ago.
True.
Thank the gods.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
was cool then. Yeah, whatever. Moving on. Um, and then the last one, the 6th step, is
Mm-hmm.
inspiration.
Mm-hmm.
Inspiration, and that is the result of concentrated and purposeful meditation.
Mm-hmm.
If
Yeah.
you're gonna do it, do it. It's just like an old Buick, man. You don't turn on the key and then stomp on the gas. You gotta let
Mm-hmm.
that old girl warm up, throw a little oil around, you know, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you're gonna do it, be nice to yourself, ask for
Yeah.
help from people you can trust, and keep trucking and humming. I mean, and the TV counts. If you're going to use the TV and you don't like bugs and you don't like going outside, I get it. Okay. I don't like bugs either. But there's moving art, there's documentaries on nature.
Mm-hmm.
We have so many tools at our disposal. We are so
Mm-hmm.
blessed to be in the age of Aquarius.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely agree with you.
Use
Oh
it,
yeah.
rinse and repeat. Drive through.
Mm-hmm.
I'm done
Yep.
for now.
Try to. I'm done. Listen, Sophia, I saw you shuffling your tarot cards, and I thought maybe you could pull a card on trauma. Could you please?
Well, I got to pick a deck because there's more than
Okay.
one. Let's
All
do
right.
the old
Whatever
school.
you're drawn to, whatever
All
pops
right.
out at you.
While
All right.
she's doing that, I just want to
Mm-hmm.
add on something here
Thanks.
because
Sure.
Yep.
so while she's getting that ready,
Mm-hmm.
focus. So one of the most transformative ways of getting through trauma or processing it later to let go of it, it's going to sound kind of insensitive, but I don't mean it to be, but with a snap of your fingers, you just put your mind somewhere else. So whatever mindfulness activity you choose, for me it was camping and fishing and sailing and boating, and that has an element of the nature connection Sophia was just talking about. Sometimes it's through artistic expression. So I got involved heavily in theater and worked on set designs and stage designs and lighting designs. I got involved in video productions like this for Red Cross. So every time that painful memory comes up, or every time I feel like I'm getting ready to step into a similar type of situation, I just changed the focus. And I didn't realize until this spiritual awakening that that's actually a spiritual practice of switching your vibration. It's where you put your mind. It's where you put your thoughts and where you put your minds. And I keep going back to that scene on Deep Space Nine early on when Captain Sisko was visiting the wormhole aliens, and they took him through this process of showing him that he's still living in that trauma of the moment when he lost his wife in that critical fire, and he couldn't only get his son out, he couldn't get his wife out. But every time he tried to explain to them the concept of linear time, why is your time linear? Well, because it has a beginning and an end. But you're not at the end, you're still at the beginning, you're still living in that space. And so that's the one thing about trauma that gets rid of the nightmares. It gets rid of the fear of being alone in the dark. It gets rid of the fear of falling into the pattern or having a similar trauma again. It gets rid of the need for the anger because you just flip it to something that makes you happy. Find your bliss, your hobby. Maybe it's parachuting or skydiving. Try different things. What the heck have you got to lose?
Mm-hmm.
Just try different things until you find those things that really turn you on. And then you're not thinking about these other things anymore. So that's a really good way of working through it. Thank you.
Sophia,
Thank you.
that card.
All right. So
Thanks,
we have
Teresa.
two. And the
Thank
first
you.
one that came out is Seven of Swords.
Mm.
Okay. This is the vice versa deck. And it stepped forward. I've had it for a couple years, but it's like, hey, hi, hey, let's hang out. So the Seven of Swords for me is the thief card. Okay. Swords is energy of the East. Yes, swords. Seven of Swords. It's the energy. Swords is energy of the East, which is thought and intention. Okay. So when, in my opinion, the Seven of Swords would say something to the effect that when we're navigating trauma, it's a loss. You know, we're losing, we feel that we're losing control of ourselves, the situation, the people involved, like something's being taken from us. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, well, that's a pretty wild card to step forward. This is one of my least favorite. I mean, they're all there for a reason. So I'm like, all right, Spirit, let's do a clarification card. What are we going to do? Okay, it's the thief card. Right on. Now what? So I pulled another one, and we have the Two of Swords.
Hmm.
And I'm starting here downloading. I'm like, all right, Two of Swords. Two of Swords is all about decisions. Okay? So, in my opinion, trauma is going to happen in varying levels of degrees and intensities your entire life. Some is by far more heinous, especially when it's against an innocent. But it's our decision to ask for help if we need it. It's our decision to pursue a solution to our trauma instead of medicating ourselves or escapism. And then that brings me down to this very last one that I wrote down that Spirit turned my head. Emotions are, for me, metaphysical fuel. We all have emotions, and together we have a concentration of power and intent with our emotions. And when I feel that trauma is allowed to happen, so one, we can evolve as a spiritual creature, but also that sacred scars can provoke cohesiveness between people, which I feel is part of the reason why this channel exists in the first place, is because all of us have spiritual situations where we want to talk to other people about it. And it's because of being misunderstood, ostracized, made fun of. I mean, that can only take us so far. But if we stand together and focus on the truth and focus on being healthy and being the best version of ourselves, look out, world, because that's a recipe for evolvement. That's why we're here.
An
Let's do it.
expansion. Yep.
Exactly.
Agreed.
Let's have fun. Let's do something cool.
I love
Yeah,
it.
there you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hannah, did you
Thank
answer
you.
that question?
I have not.
Please let us know how do you heal your own trauma? And then we'll go to final thoughts after this game.
So, first of all, shadow work.
Yep.
That and not everyone's ready for it, and that's
Shadow
I
work,
feel like
mirror
that's
work.
I feel like shadow work organically comes into one's life, and I
Mhm.
feel like if it was forced onto someone, they can develop a pushback response or even more trauma responses towards the thing, because it's hard. It's hard to accept responsibility from a higher perspective. So with that, I guess I think trauma, okay, narrow it down. Everything's energy. Okay, I attracted this energy. How? What was I doing? What did I hold? What mindsets did I do to attract something like this? To say yes to, because I could have said no.
Right.
Because I didn't have the intuition to, okay, maybe I don't want this person in my life, or et cetera, et cetera.
Let me ask you this. When
Yeah.
you look in the mirror and you're doing that mirror work, is it possible to lie to yourself when you're looking at yourself in the mirror?
Sure, but are you gonna catch it?
Uh-huh.
You know, you can lie all you want,
Mm-hmm.
but it's gonna show.
Can you lie to yourself when you do the mirror work?
No, if you're truly doing it, no.
Mm-hmm.
If you're truly doing it, no.
Yeah.
Then you're not really. If you're really being like, okay, I am helping myself, and you lie about something, then that's just an energy of you're not ready to accept it, and that's okay. And maybe you weren't ready to, and that's okay. But it's still the energy of, like, if say someone is in my life and they're lying about something, I'm gonna catch it. I'm gonna noted. I just write in my little folder in my brain, like, okay, you know,
mental note. This they're lying to me. Feel like truth.
But it has nothing to do with me. It really doesn't. And yeah, but on a lighter scale, kind of what Sophia said, I like to think of how I healed my trauma was remembering who I was before it. And
that's deep.
Yes, remembering who I am, not learning how to love yourself, but remembering to. Remembering what things you liked. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to be good at it or bad at it. You like it. It made you feel good. So do it. And I feel like trauma has the ability, if you allow it, to strip away aspects of you. I mean, whenever I was taken advantage of, I thought I was dirty. I thought that there was something wrong with me, and et cetera, et cetera. And I really changed the way to cope with how I was feeling. And sometimes, you know, I went through a phase where I wore less clothes to empower myself, but I also know back then that was my way of healing it. It's done now, and now I can kind of be in a balanced state of, okay, this is who I am. Like, say someone went through poverty and it really hit them, they're probably going to cope healthily through buying things and thinking that it's outside of them. And later on, maybe they'll balance it out if it's meant to happen. If, say, and I don't know if that's a bad or good coping mechanism. I do like to say that find it within. There's no external thing. But I know that for me, how I healed it was I learned to dance again. I learned to sing again and using my voice, speaking up. And I'd also like to say that there's many cases where people tried to do that love and light sort of thing. They developed throat cancer in their throat. Yeah. And he was trying to heal himself, like, I forgive them, right? The tumor grew bigger, and he found out that he's like, okay, what's my authentic thing? What is my authentic truth? To say fuck you to his mom. Not in person. I'm so serious right now. Not in person, but in his room, he was like, fuck you. I'm so tired of your bullshit. I'm so tired of this. And
that release. Mhm.
the cancer
Verbal.
shrunk and
Yep.
killed itself. The cancer didn't exist.
Mhm.
So I think above all else, listening to your body, listening to what it's saying that it needs to express and get out so we can balance out what is truly us.
Mhm.
And sometimes it looks ugly. Sometimes it
Yeah.
is beating your fists on the mattress.
Yeah.
Sometimes it is throwing that pillow, getting that
Mhm.
rage out like someone said. That's very real.
Mhm.
And
Mhm. It's a
and
release.
it's the
Holding it in
release.
is not the best way to go about it, because it just locks it in, and then it
Mhm.
creates havoc with the body and on a
Mhm.
cellular level. So,
Yeah.
okay, I'm not worthy. I'm this, I'm
Mhm.
that. Well, your
Yeah.
cells are going to believe that.
Yeah.
So,
And say someone who's been shy, kept in, sheltered,
mhm.
if you speak, you're being punished. How they heal later
Mhm.
on is probably going to be a bit like they're probably going to say some ugly stuff with their
Mm.
throat.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe that's what they need. You
Yeah.
never know.
Mhm.
And that's beautiful, and they get it out, and hopefully in a healthy, safe setting where
Mhm.
they have the tools where they can express that healthily,
Yeah.
because there are ways to, okay, you can punch your mattress, and there's a very fine line on the other side of punching a wall, you know what I mean? So
Mhm.
Mm.
Mhm. That's going to
um,
be painful physically.
yeah,
Finding an outlet,
Definitely.
a healthy outlet, and a way to
yeah,
release it is really the trick, and
yeah,
that's what you're looking to do and looking
yeah.
for. Well, listen, you guys, we're almost 2 hours into this, and I'd like to get to the final thoughts. And I thought, Dalibor, you could lead us off in some final thoughts on this topic.
Well, trauma is generally an unpleasant experience, and most people tend to avoid it, myself included.
It's no fun.
And one of the, even though that's one of the experiences that make you grow the most, I agree
Mm-hmm.
with that. But
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't mean you're going to go seek out trauma, right?
Right.
What
Right.
I prefer to
Right.
do is to experience it vicariously through other people by, listening to other people's
Mm-hmm.
stories of trauma, and
Mm-hmm.
learning from them, because I've gotten a lot of knowledge from books, right?
Mhm.
And I've also gotten a lot of knowledge from other people. So, I've learned from their mistakes. And that's why, as a male, 56 years old, I've never been married, because I learned from the experiences of my other male friends that marriage is not a good deal. And, see, a lot of people, a lot of men, especially,
Mm-hmm.
are in a situation where they feel they have to be in a relationship or something. I'm like, bullshit. Who says you have to be in a relationship?
Mm-hmm.
You don't you don't necessarily have to anything except pay
Right.
taxes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Taxes.
So
Yeah.
Yeah. Pay your taxes.
yeah, learn through other people's mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, if that's your way of learning, if you learn
Mm-hmm.
from, like I do, from books, from reading, from videos, stuff like that. In other words, be observant,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
that's how you can avoid trauma, and you're not going to have to deal with it.
Mm-hmm. That's GB's philosophy.
Hmm.
Be observant, be
Yeah,
the observer, witness it,
yeah,
but
yeah.
you don't have to play.
Hmm.
Mm, excellent. Thank you. How about you, Grandpa Brian? Final thoughts on tonight's topic? And thank you so much, you guys.
Uh, it is important not to take that trauma and shove it away somewhere. It's so much easier to confront it, release it, and heal from it.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, that's what I've learned over the past few years, and that's what I've done over the past few years.
Face it like
On a
fear.
different topic, yeah, on a different topic, we have the spring equinox coming up. That's coming up
Mm-hmm.
Tuesday.
Yes.
And I always use this time right around the spring equinox and the fall equinox. What do I need to do to bring balance into my life? Whether
Mm,
it's
I like that.
work, home,
Mm-hmm.
family, whatever it is, what do I need to do to bring balance in my life? So this time of the year and in the fall, around this time of year, is a perfect time to think about what you need to balance your life. And it could be releasing an emotion or a trauma
Mm-hmm.
to help bring balance into you.
Yeah.
Because that's what we need. We need to do is just release, be balanced, and be who we truly are meant to be.
Yeah.
Mm.
Definitely. Hannah Ray, final thoughts for you on this topic?
I think about astrology. That's where my
Mhm.
brain goes.
Yeah.
And I think about how there's placements, or not even placements, planets or asteroids that resemble trauma. I think about how trauma can have the potential to teach you where we would feel oppressed. Now, this oppression can be absolutely transmuted and used into a divine moral compass of how to treat humankind.
Mm-hmm.
And which is very necessary. And some people, don't experience trauma, will find it hard to maintain a perspective as such.
Mm-hmm.
I think the people who have been the wisest, who have been the the most giving and the most selfless, have been people who know what it's like to experience the opposite.
Yep.
And I think that goes unsaid a lot of the time. The people who stand up for human morality know what it's like to have that taken away from them, per se.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think through the darkness, through that whole experience, I know what it's like to wake up every day for more than 10 years wanting to not be here.
Mm-hmm.
And not seeing any light organically. There wasn't any in at the time. I couldn't find a reason. In spite of it all, finding it anyway,
Mm-hmm.
and living out of that. I've always said, for one person to have roots as deep into hell, their leaves grow in heaven.
Mm-hmm.
Always say
I
that.
love that. That's great.
It's the dual aspect of it,
Mm-hmm.
and I think treating others the way you want to be treated
Yeah.
really goes deep. And I know that's such a
Common courtesy.
it really is.
It's the
And
basis of all morality.
yes.
True. Very true.
Now, at the same time, I would like to say that I guess I am aware that a lot more and more people are becoming aware
Mm-hmm.
of how they treat themselves truly, how they're talking to themselves, because some people just naturally don't know how they're talking to themselves because of how they were raised. And I think genuinely people are doing the best they can all the time, even if it doesn't look like it. Because if they knew better, they would do it. I don't know.
It's always about choices.
Even if
choices.
Even if that person, did do the thing, because I've experienced some shootings. Like I was in situations like that too, where because I've experienced, and by the way, I've experienced so much already at the time, where I corralled my friends and I'm like, here's the exits, we're getting out. And I didn't cry, I didn't scream. I was actually really calm. And they were crying, they were screaming, they were kind of grabbing me. I was leading them, and I think that it really does make you stronger. But sometimes I'm like, is it necessary? My ego's like, is it really? Do we really need to go through this? And it's like, well, you chose it,
Yeah. Comes right back on you.
Yeah.
Writer, producer, director of your own life.
All of it. All of it. Even the people that did it to me did it to me.
Right.
So
Was
it's
agreed
all
upon.
of it.
Yep.
I'm like, thank you. All I can say is thank you.
Yep.
Thank
I
you
agree.
for teaching me this.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hannah, you're so wise for your age. You're astounding sometimes. You're quite the gal. Yeah, I really have a lot of respect and love for you. So
thank you. I love you guys.
Thank you for expressing that. I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
And thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Sophia,
I like being here.
we
Whew,
appreciate it.
that's a tough act
Sophia,
to
my dear,
follow.
I
Holy
know, isn't
cow.
it? Yeah, that
Well,
was wonderful.
um,
Final thoughts for Sophia, everyone. Put your
love
safety belts
wins.
on.
Love
Hmm?
wins. I mean, I
Amen.
agree with what Delabore's saying, Grandpa
Mm-hmm.
Brian,
Yeah,
Ray. I mean, I this was a difficult conversation
it
to have.
was. Mm-hmm.
It's
Um,
not
for
just love
people,
wins, but truth wins.
this
Ooh,
is
I
true.
like that. Mm-hmm.
This is
Yep.
for me. Love is truth.
Yeah.
One cannot, in my opinion, exist without the other.
Yes.
Yep.
Love and truth.
But I would say this was a difficult but necessary conversation.
Yeah.
Yes. Agreed.
And I chose to participate in this conversation
I'm glad you did.
because it facilitates healing.
Mm-hmm.
If it helps one person, which I feel it has helped
Absolutely.
multiple
Mm-hmm.
people,
Mm-hmm.
it's worth it. Some
Mm-hmm.
hard conversations are worth having.
Yes.
Yes.
And
Yep.
I was very
Absolutely.
chatty in this one,
Mm-hmm. You're
but
very passionate about it.
I, I've
Yeah.
seen too many people, too many beautiful people
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
implode,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and I'm not
Me
Absolutely.
too.
gonna tolerate it. Not on my watch. Now that I'm healthy and not actively destroying myself,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
guns blazing.
Yep.
Love
Sophia, I'd
wins,
like
Yep.
to
and there's nothing anybody
Yep.
can do about it.
Yeah.
I'd like to
Right.
empathize with you, Sophia. A lot of my friends have ended their contracts pretty early, and I felt like
Yeah.
I was the only one for a while.
Well, thank
I,
goodness you had the strength, Hannah, to pull yourself out of
Yep.
it
Yeah.
and to understand that you're more than that and that your potential is just waiting to be tapped into. And girl, you're doing it. So
one of the
kudos to
people,
you.
I think somebody said this, but one of the people that ended their contract early became one of my guardian guides.
It
Yeah.
happened.
And I genuinely think
Mhm.
they were, like,
They
through
sure
the
did.
whole entire
Yep.
timeline. They
They're
really
there
were.
in
And
spirit assisting you now. Yep. They're
yeah,
helping you more there than they could.
I believe that. And Sophia, I love you so much.
I love you
You
too,
know
girl.
it.
Dang right. Let's get it on purpose.
I love it. Awesome. Teresa, final thoughts for you, and we will say goodnight.
Whew. Well,
Yeah, I know, tough act to follow, huh?
yeah, you can't. I mean,
Mm.
I
Haha.
really resonate with everything everybody said. So
Yeah.
we'll just leave it at that. I would just remind folks. It's kind of the same thing I reminded you of last week. It's
Mm-hmm.
always about choices.
Yes.
Traumas are inevitable because we created them on purpose, because that's how we experience and create. We use it for transformation. We use it to learn.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't want to sound insensitive either, because I've
Yeah.
spent too many nights, too many years crying myself to sleep. So
Mm-hmm.
you got to make a choice,
Yeah.
it comes down to how you want to see yourself in the world. And it comes down to physics, not philosophy. Okay? It comes
And
down to
strength and courage.
how do I want to vibe my vibe?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sorry, Laurie, you said what?
Strength and
Courage?
courage as well. Having the strength and
Yes.
the courage to.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And so I made a choice not to not to walk the plank anymore of my own self-destruction.
Mm-hmm.
And recognizing what those patterns are in your own life is kind of what Dalibor is saying, is
Mm-hmm.
you can avoid it. You don't have to go through it. Life doesn't have to be as painful.
Mm-hmm.
Just because we do create traumas to experience from, once we've had our fill,
Yeah.
enough.
Yeah. Break the
So
chains that bind you. Bust out of
exactly,
them.
bust
Drop
out
them.
and yeah, just be free to be who you want to be. Follow your frickin' bliss.
Mm-hmm.
Do stuff that makes you laugh. Do
Be
stuff that
happy.
makes you feel good about people you're around,
Mm-hmm.
as well as yourself. Because it really sucks to be in a group of people and go, anyway, that person's this, that, this, that. It's
Mhm.
like, why
Yeah.
live? Why live? We're here to live,
Mhm.
and experience. So why not do it? Do it up,
Mhm.
Go out and do something different. Jump out of a freaking plane, whatever. I mean, I did. It was cool, you know. So anyway,
Hmm.
and also, um, be on the lookout. You never know when you're going to meet your soulmate. You never know when you're going to meet a soul sister who's going to be your best friend for life. You never know because you close yourself off to all the possibilities. Once you
Mm.
release and let go, you open yourself up to every possibility. Anything's
Mhm.
possible.
Your fullest
Anything's
potential.
If
possible.
you're 100%
Yep.
open, you're going to find someone who's 100% open for you.
Exactly.
Like
Because what?
attract-
Like attracts like. Yes, Sophia.
Chocolate.
And let me
Agreed.
tell you something. Once a connection is made on a soul level,
Mhm.
I don't care what kind of soul connection it is. It could be a
Mhm.
soulmate. It could be a twin flame. It could just be a soul sister or soul brother. Once
Mhm.
that connection is made,
Mhm.
the magic just is phenomenal, is it
It
not?
is.
Mm.
Snap.
Oh,
It's like,
yes.
Oh, my baby.
and all of a sudden you're got all these different spiritual gifts coming at you that you can take advantage of because those spiritual gifts will open you even further
And
to
you feel
heal.
good about yourself. And for
Yeah,
a lot of people, they haven't felt good about themselves, not only in this lifetime, but many other lifetimes.
yeah,
So
Your
you're at a
time is
point
now.
now where you're placing the importance on it. Yep. And the timing is now.
yeah,
I agree, Sophia. Absolutely.
Let's do
Well,
it.
listen, you guys, this has just been an amazing, phenomenal show. Thank
yeah,
you so much for showing up and being a part of it. I honor each and every one of you. I honor each and every one of you in chat and who will see this. Please, I hope you get something out of it. I'm sure you will. And thank you so much for watching and,
yeah.
being a part of it. And
Boop, boop.
we're excited to continue our journey, and we will do that and watch for next week's trailer because I'm sure there'll be
Yeah.
something really interesting. And
And
yeah,
no
I hope,
trauma drama. No
yeah,
trauma
no
drama this
trauma
week.
Yep.
drama. Yeah, we'll lighten that load a little bit. But thank you
Yeah.
so much for everyone and so much love and appreciation. So, on that note, have a great weekend. Have a wonderful week. We'll see you next week. And much love to all. Peace.
Later.